Alrighty, and we are live. What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? Let me go ahead and make cool. Live on YouTube, live on Instagram, and we're also live inside of the Facebook group. What's going on, family? How you guys been, man? I'm excited for today, man. I'm excited for today. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be jumping into a Q&A for you guys to discuss anything that any questions that you guys have been looking to get insight on when it comes to growing your coaching business, from messaging to content, sales, client acquisition overall, balance, mindset. We're going to be covering all today. All right, so this is going to be for you if you are an online health coach and you are currently looking to grow your business. Specifically work with online health coaches who are typically charging a premium price point. They sell a value-based offer, right? And so they're looking for more creative, innovative ways to just show up, serve their audience, enroll more clients, make more impact. And so if that sounds like you, and you've been navigating all the changes in running your online business over the last couple of months, and you got questions and you've got some things that you've been kind of going back and forth with, definitely tap in. All right. So first things first, guys, is I am live on 3 platforms. So I'm going to go back and forth between Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for some questions that you guys may have. All right. So make sure that you drop your questions inside of the comments. And what I'll even do is I'll even, if I have some time at the end, and if you guys are really, really engaged, I'll even bring somebody up, right, to whoops, I'll even bring somebody up to get some free coaching. All right. So that's what I want to do today, guys. I want to coach you guys the same way I would coach my clients. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just some common questions that I typically get from a lot of the health and wellness coaches that I work with. And this is going to be a pretty decent range. And so as you guys are filtering in, again, ask any question that you desire. I'm going to answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know the answer, I will definitely let you know. So that way I can point you in the right direction. All right. All right. So let's get to it. So I'm going to start with a list of some of the sort of frequently asked questions that I've gotten in the past from past clients, current clients, prospects, and this is a pretty big list. And I kind of broke them down and I kind of segmented them, and so I'm gonna sort of kind of just jump right into them. All right. Um, and so one of the questions that we get often, right, is how can I stay consistent in my business when it feels like I'm not making progress, right? So this may be a question that you've asked yourself when perhaps maybe you feel like you're not seeing the progress that you want inside of your marketing, inside of your sales, inside of your content. Perhaps you're not enrolling as many clients as you are, and you're getting discouraged. Okay, and you're trying to figure out how can you stay consistent even though it feels like what you're doing is kind of not working, right? And this can be a challenge because on one side, at the end of the day, we kind of will never get to what works if we're not consistent. Okay. But on the other side, there's also this this dichotomy of like, well, if you're consistently doing the wrong things, that kind of doesn't get you anywhere either. And so now you're stuck between, am I an inconsistent person? Am I always switching things up? Or, like, what do I actually need to do? And so the first thing I would say is you need to consider what progress actually is inside of your business. Okay. Because a lot of times people are setting up their target markers, and you're not even really giving yourself enough time or enough activity to actually hit them. I see this all the time. I work with coaches. Hey, like, what's your goals? I want to make $10,000 a month, or I want to be able to generate 6 figures in a year. But then they barely ever stay consistent with a marketing strategy for like a month, 2 months. And so it's like, okay, well, like, how, when a lot of times I have to ask, like, how consistent were you with your last process? And it can get a little bit of like, it can be gaffy a little bit. And one thing I wasn't want to say is like, consistency is a mental game all the way, right? So on the one side, I would make sure that you're gauging your consistency, and you're being consistent, even when you don't think you're making progress, by understanding the difference between what your lead measures are and what your lag measures are. And I'm going to give you examples. So I got this concept from this book called The Board Four Disciplines of Execution, and it talks about this essentially this way of thinking when you have a goal, right? And then you have your lead measures, which are essentially the inputs, right? That are required to get to that goal, and then your lag measures, which are essentially the outputs or the outcomes. And so a lot of times when it comes to being consistent, we're focused on the outcomes. So we set this goal of $8,000 to $10,000 of revenue in a month, right? And then you go out and you start doing stuff, and then when you don't see it or you feel like it's not going to happen, you stop. And now that you stop, your activity level has went down, which actually pulls you further away from your goal. And so when you start to think about things from the standpoint of like lead measures and lag measures, all you're simply doing, and I don't want to bog you guys down with the terminology, but all you're simply doing is focusing on the inputs, right? And so my answer to that question is, how do you stay consistent even when you feel like you're not making progress? Make progress be the inputs, right? And so if your goal is to drop a piece of content every day, speaking to your audience, and have 10 conversations with people in your DM a day, right? You need to completely put your focus on the inputs of that, and not like, oh, am I closing a client every 48 hours? Am I enrolling a client new every 48 hours, right? And so that's one side of it. The other side of it is that you need to understand that you need to make sure that the process that you're following is simple and it's actually leading you towards the direction of your goals. I see coaches so many times where they're doing things that just there's not really any context as to how it's going to help them hit their goals. And so they are actually they're not only inconsistent, but they're inconsistent. And when they try to be consistent, they're consistent with the wrong strategy. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a strategy that's actually going to work to be able to get you where you want to be with your goals. And here's the thing, guys, there are multiple strategies that work when it comes to hitting your goals for your business. All right. And so, guys, if you're just now tapping in again, we're just doing a full live Q&A. If you're an online health coach, you're looking to grow your business, this is a place for you. All right. Just make sure that you go ahead and you drop any questions or comments that you got. Like I said, I'm going back and forth between the Facebook group and Instagram. Okay. So let's keep it going. Right. Let's keep it going. Oh, shoot. I think I might have just cut off on Instagram. Let's see. I think I did. Okay. I think we're good here. All right. So I think I'm still good on Instagram. Yeah, we're still good. We're still good. Okay, cool. So let's go into the next question I had. How can I attract high quality leads instead of getting people who just want free advice? Ooh, this is a big one. So, then you guys ever feel like, when it comes to attracting people for your coaching program, you get on calls with people who are kind of just looking for free advice. They're not really interested in buying anything. They're just kind of there to pick your brain. Um, and it makes you frustrated because you're obviously spending time with this client or this potential client, and they're not actually a potential client. They're just somebody who wants to kind of extract from you. This is a really, really big thing. Okay. And so I would say that there are two fixes to this. One is more of a quick immediate fix, and the other one is going to be a little bit at the macro. Okay. And so the quick immediate fix for you making sure that you're attracting clients who are serious and not just wanting free advice is making sure that you have that inside of your filtration and qualification process. Like literally, like I would say, make that a question on your application or calendar form. Like, where are you in your decision to get help? And give them like 3 or 4 options. I'm just looking for free advice. I'm kind of scanning the market, but I'm not looking to make an investment right now. I know I need help, but I'm trying to look for which type of coach I want to work with, or I want to work with you. Right? That's a prime question right there. And what you can do is the people that I just looking for free advice, like all you have to do is pretty much just like use logic in your application form, or just kind of filter them out when you see the call come through. So that way you don't have to waste time with people who are just like kind of like searching for free advice. Cause look, I get it. It's really, really annoying. Right. But you guys also got to realize like your free advice should be your Instagram profile. Right. Like, especially if you guys are doing like live streaming, especially if you guys are putting out content, your free advice is your Instagram profile. So even when you're having conversations with potential prospects, like you definitely want to make sure that you're letting them know, like, hey, if you want free advice, this is where you go, right? Like I'm giving you guys free advice right now, right? And so that's okay. But again, focus on making sure that you are having a good qualification process in your business to be able to filter out leads that are kind of like not really looking to invest in anything. Now, on the other side, there's sort of the macro of this conversation, which is, are you attracting people who just generally aren't looking for help? And when we start to talk about client attraction, this has everything to do with your messaging, right? And so your messaging is going to be really, really important because your messaging determines who you serve, what problem that you solve for them, and how you solve that problem, right? And one of the biggest things that I see is that there's not a lot of context on who you serve, right? Because I'm going to give you guys a quick tip, right? There's a difference between, targeting or your ideal client being women who want to lose women who are looking to lose weight versus like women who are looking to lose weight before a specific event, right? There are certain things when it comes to your targeting, I call it like a qualifier or a tipping point that makes somebody actually be more aggressive in their search for help, right? So it could be like postpartum weight loss. It could be like, it could be a specific event in their life. Like maybe they're predisposed to diabetes, and they just figured that out, right? Sometimes like even just being more specific with how you're communicating who you serve and like what's going on in their life that makes the problem of their health, something that needs to be solved. Like even that alone is going to bring you prospects who are like, more aggressive about their goals, which means that they're going to be more seeking help and not just like, oh, I'm just kind of like scanning around and, just seeing, like kind of bullshit, right? Like that's okay. Like sometimes people just be bullshitting, and it's natural, right? Like some people's like, yeah, I want to get in help. Like you want to attract people whose their health is a priority. It's not like some like, oh yeah, I'll get there, or like I'll take care of that when I got this big list. Like you want to be able to make sure you're targeting people who like what you do for them, whether it's fat loss, whether it's holistic health, whether it's hormones, anything that you do, like whatever that specific problem is, it's like an urgent problem for them. Like they're actually prioritizing it. That's going to be big. And that has to do with messaging, right? And so that's going to be really, really important. So that's how I would say you make sure that you can attract quality leads instead of people who are just wanting free advice. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions there. So let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Another question that I often get is, how can I follow up with what's the best way to follow up with leads without feeling pushy or annoying? Great question, right? Because everybody, we use this term salesy a lot, right? That's like everybody's favorite term now. I don't want to be salesy, right? But look, a lot of times we have prospects that we can help, and we want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward to make sure that we can help them. And so a lot of times this what feels salesy is kind of subjective, right? Because I know salespeople that their level of salesy is way different than like what your level of salesy might be. And so what I want you guys to be able to do is kind of be able to frame your mind around what's actually helping, what you're actually doing, I'm sorry, when you're selling. Because selling is service, right? Following up with your client is just a basic business practice, right? And so the distinction is this. The only time you're being salesy is when you are reaching out to somebody, right? Consistently, who said they don't want your help. If they don't want your help, they don't have the problem that you solve, right? But you're constantly trying to sell them something. You're being salesy, right? But when it comes to people who have booked calls with you, people who have DM'd you, right? People who have expressed some sort of interest, and you're just following up with them, you're not being salesy. A lot of times we forget, especially when we're using conversational sales processes like DMs and appointment setting, we forget that our clients, our ideal clients, these busy professionals that you guys serve are actually busy professionals with priorities, right? And so sometimes they got they got off of work and then they went to their daughter's soccer game, and then they had to come home and cook dinner, and then they had to get ready for some gala the next day or some big presentation at work, and your DM might have just slipped them. And so following up is really just a basic sales practice. I wouldn't try to, you can gauge what level you feel like is too aggressive, right? But the way I see following up is like, look, and it's just my view on it. Until you've expressed that you do not have the problem that I can solve, or that you do not want my help. If you express interest in working with me, I'm going to follow up with you. I'm going to follow up with you, because the amount of people and clients that I've personally, as a business coach and as a health coach, have followed up with, right, that have turned out to be clients that are like, yo, like I probably would have quit my business, or I probably would have never just gave up on this health thing if I didn't work with you. It's like, man, I think about, man, if I would have just kind of been in my own head and my own ego and being like, feeling weird for following up with people. It's like, no, it's your job. Like we're entrepreneurs. We solve problems. It's our job to serve, right? And so a lot of times we just need to understand that you following up with people who have already expressed an interest to work with you is not being salesy, right? Being salesy, trying to sell people stuff they don't want, they didn't ask for, or that they clearly said they don't want any help with, right? And even that is subjective, but we won't go into that conversation, right? But again, I see a lot of coaches just lose a lot of business to their own ego, and I know because I used to do that. I used to be the coach that, when somebody didn't show up to a call, I immediately thought, man, this dude ain't serious. He ain't serious about his health. He ain't trying to get right. And it's like, what type of like, and when I really think about it, I'm like, man, what type of self-inflated, egotistical shit is that? As if people don't forget about calls on their calendar sometimes, or as if people don't have different things going on. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to let people walk all over my calendar, and just be scheduling calls and not showing up. But it's like, sometimes like, hey, yo, I'm going to shoot you a ping. I'm going to follow up to reschedule a call. Am I going to follow with you 12 times? No. But like something happened, you may have forgot about it. Maybe that call kind of fell into your list of really, really important things to do for the day. You still do want help with your health, right? But that time didn't work. I'm going to follow up with you. I'm going to reset that call. Oh, well, if they're serious, they'll reschedule the call. That's true, right? But sometimes people are serious and they just got stuff going on, guys. Like, we have to learn how to humanize. Like, a lot of times, here's the thing, okay? People think that selling dehumanizes you in your process to help people. But what we don't realize is that when we humanize ourselves with our prospect and realize that they're actual people with actual things going on, right? With actual, risk and fears and concerns, like every human being, it actually allows us to understand why we have a process behind sales. That's all it is to it, fam. Right. So I want you guys to really get out of this mindset of like, I'm being salesy. It's like, nah, you're following up somebody who expressed an interest to work with you. If you read every sales book, they're going to tell you somewhere between, and depending on the sales book, somewhere between 5 and 14 follow-ups or touch points or getting in front of somebody before they buy. That's what every single sales book is going to tell you. And these are books written by people who have sold millions of dollars in sales across multiple different industries. It varies. But what makes you think that you're so special that you never have to follow up with clients? You never, like, it's called the sales process, right? And so I want you guys to really, really get out that mindset that, having these basic principles that businesses across the country and world do, right, is like being salesy. You run an online health coaching business, you run a service, people are going to tap in. Some people are going to be immediately ready to buy, and some people you're going to need to build a relationship with. And so sometimes that's what follow up looks like. All right. So, why are my prospects booking calls even after engaging with my content? That's a good question, right? So you putting out content, you got people engaging, but for some reason your prospects still aren't booking calls. Well, the short answer to that is, are you like, what are they engaging with your content with? Because this is a really, really big phenomenon with coaches that focus on going viral and getting caught in what I call the content creator friend zone. And so the content creator friend zone is like when you put out a lot of content and it's like really, really informational content, right? What ends up happening is that your audience becomes so used to getting just more information from you that they don't actually experience real transformation with you. Right. And so a lot of times, if you're putting out a lot of content and if people are engaging, but it's not leading to book calls, it could be an indicator that you're in a content creator friend zone. And what that means is that you actually need to deepen, right, the transformation of your content, meaning that you need to stop telling people what to do and start teaching them how to think. Right. You need to go from surface level to deep level. In addition to that, like, you might just not have strong enough call to actions. Like, at the end of the day, when somebody books a call, everybody's thinking in their mind, what's in it for me? Okay. And if the only thing that your prospect feels is in it for them, that they might spend some money, or, you know, like, it doesn't feel compelling for them to want to take action, then what's happening is that you don't have a good offer to book a call. Right. And so we may need to work on how can you have better call to actions, have stronger call to actions that answer that question that your prospect is asking in their mind psychologically, which is, what is in it for me if I click your link in bio or if I DM you? Right? What's in it for me? Is there value behind that? Again, as high value coaches, our job is to continue to serve and provide value. And so we need to make sure that we're doing that even in the content that we're putting out, even in the call to actions that we have. For example, for a lot of you guys, right, if you want to tap in with me and you want to book a call, you're not just going to get a call and I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm going to do a full audit of your business, right? I'm going to audit your messaging. I'm going to audit your sales process, right? We're going to build you out a 6-figure business plan, and I'm going to give you 5 days of free coaching. So that's what's in it for you if you want to tap in with me and book a call, right? And so what you guys need to be thinking about is like, well, like, how strong are your call to actions? Like, does it really feel compelling? Is somebody getting, is somebody going to get clarity on the other side of that call? Is somebody going to get movement towards their goal on the other side of that call or that DM? All right. So that answers the question, why are my prospect booking calls even after engaging? Okay. Cool. So another question I got is, what are the best strategies to turn DMs into book calls? Okay. And so when it comes to turning DMs into book calls for your coaching program, it's really just following basic, conversational principles. Because the first thing that you guys got to realize is that your DMs is not where sales take place. Okay. And I want to help you guys as health coaches really, really like update your mind when it comes to sales, because all sales is service. You're helping somebody figure out what their problem is, why they have a problem, and if you can help them, you're just articulating the value behind your solution, right, in your program. And so right now, if you're getting DMs from people, what you need to do is you need to learn how to identify what they got going on, like what's their core issue, what their goal is. And then if that goal aligns with how you can help them, you need to learn how to just turn them into a booked call. Right. And so we actually have like a DM script and process that you get access to, like when you tap in with us. However, that's generally what you need to do. And if you want, a little bit more help with how to leverage, turning your DMs into book calls for your coaching offer, then feel free to DM me, right? But ultimately, the best strategy for turning DMs into book calls, be conversational, focus on finding problems, right? Don't try to sell, okay? And just give people the opportunity and the decision to be able to, jump on a call with you, learn more about your offer, how you can help them, and et cetera. Now, remember, I just talked about this before. What's in it for me? That's a big question that a lot of your prospects are going to be asking guys when it comes to booking these calls, right? Obviously, they're looking to lose weight. They're looking to get help with their hormonal health or, the specific things that you may be asking, right? But, you want to be as clear as possible, especially when you're having conversations in a DM, because the DMs, again, they're about conversations, but you don't want to turn your DM into like this casual conversation where you're not actually growing your business. All right. So by the way, guys, we're doing a Q&A. So if you're a health coach tapping in, make sure to just go ahead and drop a comment with any question that you may have with growing your coaching business. All right. I'm live here on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And I'm just going through and I'm clicking back through these tabs to see if we have any questions. And I've got my own set of questions that I've had from some frequently asked questions over the past couple of weeks and months. Okay. So, this is a good question. How do I handle money objections to my health coaching program without feeling like I am begging for sales? Ooh, that's a good question. I like that question. So let's talk about money objections, guys. Let's talk about when you are a dope health coach and you get somebody on the call, you're gonna go ahead and help them lose that weight, or get in shape, or help them with their health. And when it comes down to like your offer, they're like, man, this sounds really, really good, but it just gets down to like the money, right? For some reason, it's either they say they can't afford it, let's say it's too expensive, we all know what that feels like, right? Uh, Now, how can you handle the money objection without feeling like you're begging them to buy your stuff, right? This is where skills come in. This is where learning how to sell comes in. Because first thing we got to do is we got to recognize that, objections are really just a request for more information, right? They're typically when a prospect has a perceived risk or concern, right? And there's something that is blocking them from being able to make a decision, right? And so the first thing that you want to do anytime you're getting an objection is clarify, what somebody is actually saying when they tell you, oh, I just can't afford this. Like, I can't afford it can mean a lot of things. I can't afford it can mean I'm flat dead broke with $0 in my pocket. I can afford it could simply mean that, hey, I just can't afford putting this all down today. So we need to make sure we're always clarifying, when somebody says, oh, this sounds really, really good, I just want to, I just don't know if I can afford it, right? You need to ask, like, okay, when you say you don't know that you can afford it, like, what do you mean by that? Is it the whole amount? Give me some insight there. And they might say, oh, it was just a little bit more than I thought it was, or yeah, I just can't handle all that today. Okay, if they say they can't handle all today, you go ahead and offer them an installment plan, right? And so these are just very specific ways, but you want to clarify the you want to clarify the actual objection, right? You want to diffuse it, and then you want to discuss. Right? So clarify, diffuse, discuss. Okay. And so clarify what they mean, right? Diffuse about offering an option, and then discuss how you can help moving forward. Now, notice I didn't say sell them or try to tell them how dope your program actually is. Like, when you get really good at sales, what you'll begin to recognize is that sales is allowing people to arrive at the value that they're seeing themselves. That's all it is. When you get really good at sales, you just know how to ask the right type of questions that allow people to start to see value for themselves. Right. And so, by the way, guys, we're just doing a Q&A. Again, we're doing a Q&A. So if you're just jumping in, right, make sure to drop a question if you got any. What's up, Coach Ashley? We were just talking about how to go over those sales objections without being salesy. And so I know that you've been dialing in, right? So nothing that you didn't know, nothing that you don't know there. All right. So let's keep it going. So let's talk about content. Right. Let's move into content. Some of the questions that I get around content a lot. So number one is what is the best way to structure content to attract clients and get more DMs, right? And so when we start to talk about content, I think content is a really, really important conversation, because it's one of the most important conversations we need to be having right now for you coaches. And the reason being is because there's a lot of confusion around like content. And you have this space of the fitness industry and the health industry where you have content creators, you have influencers, and then you have coaches. And so everybody, and then you have three different types of like business models of people, or archetypes of people creating content. And it creates a lot of confusion for you coaches on what you should be putting out. And so first things first, you have to understand is that the goal of your content is to establish a relationship with your audience, right? And your potential clients. So it is to build a relationship with your audience and potential clients, right? Your content is to help nurture your leads. Okay. Your content is to build your authority, right? And demonstrate to your audience how you can help them. Okay. And so one thing I always say is that the best way to structure your content to attract your ideal client is, number one, make sure it reflects your messaging. Because if your messaging is all over the place, if it's not dialed in, then your content is just going to do the same. Like, your content is supposed to reinforce your messaging, because your messaging is what actually attracts, ideal clients. And so, I was on a call with the client the other day, or yeah, technically a client now. And one of the things she said was like, Coach Tice, like your content, and I just seen your content, and I'm like, why is Coach Tice speaking to me? Right? Like, have you guys ever had, client or prospects jump on calls, and maybe they were referring to like a carousel that you wrote or a live that you did or a piece of content. It was like, you're speaking directly to me. That means you have good messaging. And here's the thing, content that is structured with your messaging is going to allow you to attract more of those ideal clients. When your content's all over the place, it's unclear, then we don't really have too much of that going on. Right? So make sure that your content is dialed in, with your messaging. Okay. How do I create content that makes me stand out from other coaches? Now, this will be a great question for my content coach, Coach Kaylin, who's not here, right? But I'm going to answer it anyway. And it's simple. Infuse your unique experiences and your unique stories into a way that you educate. A lot of you guys have dealt with this challenge around comparing yourself. I know I used to deal with it a lot. You compare yourself to other different coaches and content creators, and the reality is that one thing that nobody can have is your story. One thing that nobody can have is your unique experiences. Yet we overlook that so much when we're creating content. So a lot of y'all, you got these dope stories. You have a dope transformation. There's so much value. Like, man, I'll be on these content calls, and sometimes I'm watching these replays of the content calls with our clients. And I'm like, yo, why ain't I heard that on your Instagram before? Right? Like, and so the best way to like put out content that stands out is like, yes, still have it in alignment with your messaging, right? But speak to your unique stories and experiences. Nobody can duplicate that. Sometimes we jump on this app and you guys see some other fitness creator going viral for like a cool workout video or like this little trend that they did, and it's like, nah, but you got your story, and can't nobody duplicate that. Can't nobody duplicate that. Like, it's the most authentic way to show up to your audience. And so if you want to make content that stands out from other coaches, and you got to be you. You got to be authentically you. You got to authentically tell your stories, to authentically share your unique insight. Because this is when you start to go from a commoditized coach to a thought leader who stands for something, who has a mission, right? And has a body of work to speak to what they do for them. Right? So let's keep it going. So guys, we're jumping in again here. We're doing a Q&A. I got about another 2 or 3 questions on my side. And so so a question that I got from a newer client the other day was, how do I make my sales calls feel more natural instead of scripted? This is a great question. And so, shout out to the coaches in here. I see Aaron. I don't know if you're still watching over in the Facebook group. I think you are. You got Coach Ashley in here, right? You guys know this, but repetition. Guys, sales is not easy. And I know, like, everybody's selling you a sales made easy simple. You can make sales simpler and easier. You can, right? You can make sales more repetitive, right? You can make sales a bigger priority inside of your business. But having a conversation with somebody and anticipating potential rejection is never easy, right? But the thing is like, it starts to feel more natural when you understand why you are having a conversation, why you're asking the type of questions that you're asking, and you just put in enough repetition to get comfortable with it. Right. And so if you're selling a premium health coaching offer and you're not getting sales coaching, you're probably missing out on a lot of revenue in your business. Right. Because sales coaching, especially doing things like jumping on like sales role play calls, and you can actually role play your script. It's like practice, right? Back when I was a wrestler, we used to drill. And so drilling is essentially us going like us either working moves or just straight up going live. And when you drill, you go live. Like, the goal is like, you want to drill a move repetitively and you want to go live on the mat, right? To make all your mistakes on the mat, so that way you don't make them in the match. Right. And so, like, if I'm drilling, if I got a tournament on Saturday and it's Thursday night and I'm drilling, I'm like, man, I can't, I keep getting stuck. Like, this guy, he keeps blocking this move that I'm doing. Right. Well, then that's what I have my coach here to say, Tyson, get your damn hips under you. Get your hips under you. All right. That was the biggest thing. Like on the takedowns, get your hips under you. Because once you put your hips under you on a takedown, now you get to leverage the power of your legs on a takedown. You know, I used to take them up top. That's what I used to do. I was the king of mat returns. Okay, I don't know about bottom work, you know what I'm saying? But if you're a wrestler and you're watching this, yeah, your boy, all the way up top. Because I used to get them hips under. Why? Because I was drilling that. And I would go to practice and my coach would be like, get your hips under. But here's the thing. After enough repetition, get my hips under felt kind of normal in a match. And so that's what it's like with sales. You just need to have practice and you need to develop some skill set and some repetition there. Right? That's all it is to it. That's how you make your conversations more natural, because when you understand like what you're talking about, how you're having these conversations, it's gonna feel natural. Right? I see we got some ladies in the chat, fellas. When you guys, when back in the days when you had to walk up to the young lady at her locker, in front of all her friends, it probably didn't feel natural. But some of y'all didn't never feel natural. That's okay. All right, it got a little natural for me. But you know how I got natural? Because I had to do it a couple times. I had to get rejected a couple times. And be like, damn, it's okay though. But and unfortunately, I didn't get any practice. It was in the field training. But that's okay, right? Like, look, nothing feels comfortable without you actually doing it. And so, like, when it comes to you guys having these conversations with your clients, with your prospects, when you come to selling your offer, like talking about money is never like easy. People get weird about money. People get weird. Like, it's all good, but you got to be able to put that repetition in and get that practice, and it's going to start to feel more natural. That's it. Like there's no easy answer or bounce around that. I know a lot of people like to sell you guys hacks, it's your, energetics. And look, you got to just learn how to have conversations effectively and practice them. Learn what it feels like for you, like your rhythm, your tonality, like be authentically you, and you'll get nice at sales. You'll get really good at it. Right. So let's keep it going. So we talked about sales. One question that is really big is, how do I continue to show up in my business without getting burnt out? This is a really, really good question, right? Coach Aaron said, when it comes to my sales, I've reminded myself of saying we drill into our martial arts students, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Exactly. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? So let's talk about burnout. Like burnout ain't cool, and we all understand that. And I know a lot of you guys, especially if you've got some rhythm or if you've got some traction in your business, you can feel like sometimes in order to win, it feels like you literally have to burn yourself out in your business, right? And the challenge with that is that it can make it feel like growth is like this zero-sum game a little bit. Like, yo, in order for me to have a record month, I gotta really burn myself out, and that cannot be appealing. And so my stance on burnout is a little bit different than most people's, right? I think you can do a lot of self-care. I think self-care can also become a distraction, in a way of procrastinating. I think avoiding burnout is about learning about seasons and rhythm, it's about learning about your season, learning about your rhythm, and learning when to embrace resistance and when to rest. Like, that's really what it is. A couple of lives ago, I told you guys about sales planning and how I tell my clients to really look at their sales goals. Like, we're tracking every day, right? Every week, every month. But look at your sales goals, like when you break down your year, quarterly. And the reason being is because quarterly allows you to create time and space for rhythm, right? Like, when is it a season for you to go really, really? When is it time for you to go really, really hard in that season? When is it time for you to rest? Right. And so, like, as you begin to grow in business, you'll start to learn a little bit more about what that rhythm looks like. But not only that, like, finding your rhythm is also going to involve you learning how to lean into your support system. That's big. Like, as entrepreneurs, we have to be resourceful, right? And a lot of times when we think about being resourceful, we think about just money. Like I got to be resourceful. I got to learn how to make more from less, and be lean, and make sure I can, but a lot of times being resourceful means like you got to know how to have resources for you, fam. Like running a business ain't easy, especially when you're handling multiple parts of the business. So a lot of times we're burning out because we don't have the proper, you got a CRM for your sales, right? You got a landing page for your VSL or your funnel, right? You got a process and a strategy for your content, right? But like, what's the process and strategy or the support system for you, right? And so I would encourage you guys to really think about, looking at the way that you're going about business from a standpoint of just seasonality, finding your rhythm, and really, really finding your support system. You will be surprised how much further you can push things in your business when you have the right support around you, when you have the right community, when you have the right fellowship, people that value similar things that you do, people that are going through similar challenges, right? This is all a part of growth. And it's your job to equip yourself, with what you need to keep yourself afloat inside of that process. So if you're burning out, like lean into that support system, because a lot of times burnout is just, it's a lack of alignment, right? It's a lack of alignment because you are pouring out, right? And nobody's pouring into you, right? A lot of times burning out is because you're not around people who can remind you of your actual values, right? Like that's a big thing. You get into different programs, or you're online and you're seeing everybody doing these huge crazy things, or at least perceivably doing it. And now you start to run at a pace that's not your pace. That's not even your race. So a lot of times burnout is because you're simply just operating out of alignment with your core values, right? You're sacrificing integrity for a dollar, right? Or, you are just not showing up authentically as yourself. And so, of course, when you're doing things and you don't feel aligned and you're doing that at a high intensity, it's going to come with that feeling of burnout. Lean into your community, guys. Like you guys should have a community. One of the things that myself, with my clients, as well as me and Coach Harry and our clients, like we're big on community, man. Like we want to make sure every single one of our clients feels massively supported, because we've both been in like coaching programs where like the community was just like, it wasn't really real. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really a place where you could be like, yo, I'm feeling like shit. I'm struggling with this right now. And you wouldn't be like engulfed in like shame. Right. And so when we created our community, we wanted to make sure that we're not only setting our coaches, our our coaches up with the right systems and strategies for success, but also the right support and community. Like that's big, guys. Community like is everything. Community is everything. And you have to be able to find that when you're growing your business. You have to be able to find that. And we had a content call yesterday and we had like a full community on the content call. You'd be surprised how many people just like you are still struggling with sometimes, second guessing, putting a piece of content out, sometimes feeling like they're not confident on camera. But with community, right, you can have that level of support, right? And people pouring back into you to help you, right, feel full and go out your business with the right level of intensity. All right. So I know that was a long answer, but balance, seasonality, rhythm, right? Community and support systems. Gotta lock those things in. Gotta lock those things in because they're gonna look a lot different. Like there are seasons for me where I work 12 hours, 12, 13 hours a day. Then there's seasons for me where I'm like, man, I'm working about 6 hours a day, 4 days a week. Right? It just depends on the season. It depends on where God has me, where the business has me. Right now I've got a really good I work 6 days a week right now, right? And I completely take off Saturdays or Sundays. One or the other. I just completely take it off. I don't open up Slack. I don't look at nothing. And it works for me. Just days where I may take off 2, 3 days out the week, right? It just works for me right now. That's the season I'm in, right? And so after years of being in business, I've been able to kind of learn like what is the rhythm that is needed, for me to sustain and grow You know, what is it? What does my community look like? What does my team need to look like, right? In order for me to sustain myself, because burnout ain't cool, you know, but it will happen if we don't have the right things in place. All right, guys. So listen, we've been on here for a while, right? Let me know, guys. Again, we're finishing off the Q&A. You know, if you guys have any questions around just growing your coaching business, marketing, sales, community support, growing yourself, right? That's a big thing. I had to have a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was like, look, like as a coach, you're a leader, and at the end of the day, if you're gonna lead other people, you damn sure better be able to lead yourself. You know, and so these are all things that we deal with as coaches, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, you know. And so it's totally okay that you deal with it, right? But what's most important is that, you know, you work your way around it and you find your way through it. You know, because this is all part of just finding your rhythm and growing your business. All right, y'all. So listen, fam, I appreciate you guys for tapping in. I'm gonna click over to Facebook and YouTube real quick, see if we had any additional questions. Oh, they got a live chat here. Hold on. I didn't even know that was I supposed to open that up? First time live streaming on YouTube and searching for the comments, but mostly people over here on Instagram and in the Facebook group anyway. But listen, guys, we appreciate you for tapping in. I'm gonna drop this inside of my Facebook group. You guys know where to catch the recordings. I'll probably end up putting on YouTube as well. All right. So anytime you guys want to go back and rewatch the live streams, they'll typically be in the Facebook group, which is a free Facebook group, support group, and community for online health coaches, right? Or they'll be on the YouTube channel. So listen, I appreciate you guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions about anything we talked about inside this live. Just hit me in the DM and we'll talk soon, fam. All right.